Hello, my name is Phil. Welcome to Final Fantasy XIV. This video is about how 14 does have slow GCD, but that doesn't actually mean the game plays slowly. Because you have no idea who I am, as I just said, my name's Phil. I'm a player who's been playing since Shadowbringers launch. I have leveled up multiple characters, done tons of in-game content, not limited to farming extreme trials, doing the instanced in-game areas in Zadnor, and even done a little bit of Savage Raiding. So while I'm by no means the triple legend that some people are, I'm an experienced player, and I've played this game for a decent amount of time. Now that my credentials, so to speak, are out of the way, let's get right into the video. Alright, so let's start this off by talking about a couple of things. Predominantly, what is a GCD? Now, I know this is going to be really basic for a lot of people, and most of you are going to click on this video already knowing what a GCD is, hell, it's in the title. But I'm going to go through and explain GCDs and OGCDs in the context of Final Fantasy XIV, as opposed to where they could be sitting in other games. So let's start with talking about GCDs. They are a skill that is on the global cooldown. So let's say I want to attack an enemy. I'm going to use the striking dummy, for example. I'm going to walk up and I'm going to hit it with my true thrust, and you notice it's going to spin. There's quite a few other skills on my hotbar that are spinning here. All of these skills are GCDs. They are all linked together on a global cooldown, meaning that I can only hit any of these skills every 2.5 seconds. So now you know what a GCD is, right? Now next, let's talk about OGCDs, and for Dragoon it's quite simple, because we have a billion of them. Most jobs have a lot, but Dragoon has quite a few, in the forms of all their jumps. These are skills that have cooldowns that aren't on the global cooldown. As you can see, they have these, for example, have instant cast times, and they have a recast that is not the 2.5 seconds. As you can see, this takes 2 minutes to recast, this is 60 seconds, this is 30 seconds, and we even have skills over here, or abilities, I think, is what they're actually called. That are, once again, things you just push, and they go. See, nothing else is spinning as a result of that. I can even use one of my jumps here, and nothing else is going to be spinning as a result of that. Those are OGCDs, or skills that are off the global cooldown. Now, the slow GCD in Final Fantasy XIV is a conversation that I've seen rolling around for actually years. Especially recently, because there's been a lot of players coming from other MMOs because of a phenomenal marketing campaign and what appears to be lots of missteps on the parts of other games. So they're coming to a game that people seem to really enjoy. But they'll show up, they'll look at the GCD, they'll be like, 2.5 seconds? That's so slow. And then they'll be vindicated, because you look at skills, I have 2 damage skills, and no OGCDs until, like, level 30, when I get Lance Charge and Jump. And I guess you have Life Surge at level 6, but it's on such a long cooldown, the same as Lance Charge, that it, like, barely counts, so to speak. But from level 4 until level 18, your combo is literally, alright, 1... 2, with nothing in between. And since most fights early game are really straightforward and simple, you often find yourselves just sitting there spamming 1-2 over and over and over again, which is really slow. And when even the fastest of jobs only get their GCD down to a little below 2 seconds, I'm looking at you, Monk, and they don't even do that until level 80, then of course it's going to feel slow. And that's something that I can completely agree with and get behind. I can understand why people find this game to be slow early on, but end-game gameplay is not slow. Now, like I said, this is not going to be me excusing the fact that early game can feel absolutely abysmally slow. But let's do a quick demonstration of what an end-game opener looks like for a job like Dragoon. This is implying that I don't have to move, and I'm just hitting an absolutely standstill boss. So pre-pull, I will Blood of the Dragon, and I'm just going to do my opener with no commentary. And since all my self buffs have dropped off, that's where the opener ends, basically. So, in case you didn't notice, everything's on cooldown. Dragon Fire Dive, High Jump, Spine Chowder, Garrus Gogol, I used a Mirage Dive in there. They use Dragon Sight, Life Surge, Lance Charge, Battle Litany. Depending on the fight, you could often have to pop Feint or True North or Arm's Length in the middle of that opener as well. So as you can see, I'm pushing literally my entire hotbar as fast as the game will allow me, because in the case of Dragoon, you cannot use a skill like High Jump and Spine Shatter Dive in between casting 2 GCDs because of the fact that you get animation locked. Because when you cast a thing and then you use High Jump, by the time you're finally unlocked, it's basically time for your next GCD, which is one of the reasons why Dragoon has a 2.5 GCD. But as you can tell, I'm using it my entire hotbar here. I'm using almost every skill on here. I am using literally every damaging skill that I have outside of Stardiver and my AoEs that are on the GCD. And for some of you, that might be like, wow, that was a lot of button pushes. Yeah, but because of how slow it is early on, you slowly get to incorporate them. For example, you could jump at level 30. Cool, great. You finally get an OGCD to weave in off cooldown. Spine Shatter Dive at 45. Cool. Then at level 50, you have all 3 of your jumps as OGCDs. And you'll be popping them underneath Lance Charge. And you'll be like, oh, okay, I'm getting it more and more. And then, come 52, you get to add Battle Lightning to the mess. And then you get to add Garrus Google at level 60. And then Dragon Sight at 66. And then Mirage Dive at 68. And then you get to activate the Life of the Dragon phase and use Strand at 70. And then get to use Stardiver at level 80. But it all builds. And I think this is why they still have this decision to keep the game so slow early. Is because it builds and adds and adds. Your combo at level 1 is True Thrust. Then you get Vorpal. Then every once in a while you'll pop Disembowel. And then you'll add a Full Thrust to the Vorpal Thrust. And then you'll add Chaos Thrust to the Disembowel. And then you'll add Fang and Claw and Wheeling Thrust. And then somewhere along the road in here, I believe it's level 64? It is level 64. You'll get to be able to rotate back and forth between Fang and Claw and Wheeling Thrust at the end of a combo. And that's when the game starts to get that faster pace. When you're always pushing a GCD, when you're having to move around during boss fights, when you're constantly having to use your jumps as OGCDs off of cooldown, because otherwise you're losing out on damage, all of these things add up to make the game feel faster. I haven't even started talking about tanks, so I have an even harder time of things. Alright, so let's talk about tanks then, since I brought it up. So, I'm going to use Warrior as my big example here, because Warrior has, in general, the least amount of buttons. And by that I mean you have a bunch of GCDs, and that's the majority of your kit. You have your Inner Chaoses, you have your Fell Cleaves, and you occasionally get to pop Upheaval, but you have the least amount of OGCD abilities to use on Warrior. And because of that, I feel like they're a great job to talk about this with. So, tanks, their OGCDs are mostly defensive cooldowns. Now, there's a few offensive ones, like Inner Release for Warrior, No Mercy for Gunbreaker, Blood Weapon and Delirium for Dark Knight, Fight or Flight and Requiescat for Paladin. You have your self buffs that you pop at the proper times in your fights. But a lot of your skills are generally just defensive. So while you're fighting the boss, and you're constantly having to make sure that, like, alright, cool, doing my rotation, I'm going, hitting my buttons, making sure I do my stuff. Okay, enter Inner Release for damage. Oh, there's a Tank Buster coming in, gotta pop Vengeance. Oh, we gotta move the boss after the Tank Buster, so now I have to keep walking slightly away in between each cast while still making sure I maintain my energy. Oh, no, the Tank Buster coming in, might as well pop through a little battle. That's typically not how fast Tank Busters come in, but the idea stands. But you see what I mean? With all of those skills having to be popped as OGCDs in there, while you're handling a boss, while you're eating auto attacks to the face, while you're thinking, okay, do I need to pop Equilibrium here to give myself a little heal because I ate too much damage? Should I be popping Nascent Flash to heal myself up a little bit? Should I be using Thrill of the Battle here so that the healing I'm given is more effective? Should I be popping Rampart instead because of the damage coming in? Should I be using Vengeance because I'm being hit by multiple enemies and this gives damage back? All while making sure you never stop your GCD combo. And while that might sound a little overwhelming and a little intense, it's something that, like I was talking about with Dragoon, it builds on itself. You don't start out having all your defensive cooldowns. You get Thrill of the Battle at 30 here. You get Vengeance at 38. You get Rampart at level 8, you get Reprisal at 22, Arm's Length at 32. You like slowly get these added to your kit over time. You can get stuff like Shake It Off at higher levels, you get Nascent Flash at some of the highest ones. And all of these things just slowly add and give you more and more tools to deal with stuff, and it's what adds to this faster combat at high-end levels. Hopefully all of this has kind of made you realize why I consider the game to still be fast, even with a slow GCD. A combination of all the OGCD buttons you have to push, as well as all the movement that comes through in the game. If you've never seen an in-game fight, I recommend looking up people running through extreme or savage fights and looking at all the movement, because it's not just a matter of, oh, I need to just push my buttons in the right order. It's, oh, I need to push my buttons in the right order while rotating around the boss, while going to my clock spot, while making sure I stack, while standing still, while moving. Any number of those things can apply in the middle of an in-game fight, all while trying to keep your skills rolling as effectively as possible. Alright, so that's it for the video. I noticed in post here, this is post-production felt coming at you right now, that on occasion the in-game music was muted and sometimes it wasn't. Hope that doesn't bother you too much if it cuts in and out. I was trying a new style of video where it is half scripted, half off the cuff, because it is a style that I've been enjoying. I did it for a couple of recent Genshin videos. Please leave a comment if you enjoyed it, or yell at me for screwing up the music for it. Leave a like if you liked it, leave a dislike if you didn't. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this on the channel. Regardless of all that, I hope you enjoyed watching the video, and I hope to catch you in the next one.